What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much again for joining us here today. We'll be introducing one of our new members, Rob Chamra, former NC State pitcher, baseball pitcher, and so looking forward to kind of diving in a little bit about baseball, talking about the team overview, talking about the Notre Dame series a little bit, and also too talking about the big news with Carlos Rodon's no hitter. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing started. All right, Wolfpack Nation, thank you so much again for tuning in for this next episode. Please make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to us by clicking the button in the bottom right-hand corner. Please also follow us at Tuffy Talk Now, Bang on Twitter and Instagram. And please make sure to like this video, check out other content. And also to make sure as well, if you have any interest in any Tuffy Talk merchandise, please make sure to direct message us on Twitter or Instagram. So with that being said, so we got with us here Rob Chamra, former baseball pitcher for NC State, and Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining the team, and so jump into it, man. Want to hear little bit about you.
Hey, thanks for having me. I looking forward to a fun year with you guys. But yeah, my name's Rob Chamra. I'm actually from Cranford, New Jersey. I came to the Wolfpack in 2009. I started at Temple University in Philadelphia. I actually came with fellow Wolfpacker Andrew Sinson during that regional of 2008. I believe they were playing. They ended up going to Super Regional, but I came to the regional, spoke to Coach Avent and Coach Holiday at the time. He was the pitching coach, and pretty much pleaded to them I want to transfer. I want to play for them, and they gave me the opportunity, and I was enrolled in summer classes and workouts within 2 weeks following their super regional. But glad to be here and look forward to talking Wolfpack with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and really just kind of first started off, I know that, we're really kind of in the meat of the season, really, really kind of in the middle of it, kind of have, gotten a lot of lows, but a lot of highs, but that's baseball. Baseball is a game of a lot of lows and a lot of highs. So, I mean, really was just kind of interested, first of all, in just kind of getting your first kind of general thoughts, of the season so far, what you've liked, what you see a little bit of room for improvement on.
Yeah, so I've stayed in touch with Coach Avent. I text him very often. Give him a shout out and congratulations on his 900th win. That's something special. But yeah, I've been following it's been an up and down season, like you said. A couple games by one run, 2 runs here and there. But yeah, I this weekend too, a tough one, going to Notre Dame, taking that game on Saturday to go 1-1, and then a tough a tough Sunday, I guess. Things just fell apart in the end there, but it seems the pitching's coming along. Before that, they were on a roll. They were 6-game win streak. They were outscoring opponents, I think, like 64-20, and they were scoring double-digit runs. So, but listen, the ACC anyone can win on any day. So they're going into Virginia, actually hosting Virginia Tech this weekend. Virginia Tech is sitting on top of that Coastal Division in first place, and we're right there, middle of the pack. So taking 2 out of 3 at home would be huge, especially against this top-ranked team in the ACC.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the biggest things too that has definitely stood out is, I mean, definitely the bullpen itself has really stood out. I know that one of the things that a lot of state fans really worried about was that Kent Kleiman, who I think every state fan knew coming out of this offseason was going to be the guy for us. He was just going to be a huge reliever for us. But you can't necessarily always rely on him because every pitcher has his good and bad days. And unfortunately, there would be those games where Kent wasn't having his best game, and there wasn't really anybody that was kind of taking the reins from him and kind of picking up the slack a little bit. So it's good to see. And I know that there's been a couple of, stars that have really stood out, like Sam Highfield. I mean, he's just been dominant recently. It really shows kind of a lot of bright spots for the future. But then from the hitting side, like Devonte Brown has been crazy clutch for us, as well as Jose Torres. Luca Trash is just continuing to skyrocket up the draft boards for next season. So and I mean, I'm curious too, one of the biggest things I think for me that, I wanted to kind of ask was, so, I mean, I know that obviously this year has been a weird year to say the least with COVID.
Hmm.
So, obviously having, the series start that we did where you went against, probably, you could argue, three of the toughest teams in ACC, and then you have a COVID stop. I mean, how do you deal with that from a player side? I mean, it's just, it's kind of tough to even wrap your mind around, really.
Yeah, you know what? I think mentally you have to prepare to play every day, prepare
Hmm.
to practice every day, play that Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend series, get
Hmm.
your midweek game or two in. But until the NCAA or the school tells you to stop, you have to stop and face that day. That's why baseball is a one day at a time. You can't win a season. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Exactly. And so since your history isn't pitching, I'm curious. So I mean, there's been some guys that have really stood out this season. Is there one pitcher in particular that really stand out, or maybe a couple of pitchers that have really stood out to you recently?
Like you said, Highfield's been throwing great his last couple starts. And then who stepped it up? Reed Johnson. That last game he just threw against Notre Dame was unbelievable, and that
Mhm.
was a close one. I think the go-ahead run or the winning run was on a hit by pitch in the eighth or ninth inning.
Yeah.
Um, but it's it's a group of guys that have to just come together and hand the ball to the next guy. But yeah, Johnston and Highfield have been doing great. Um, but yeah, and Wilderson's been there. He's been producing. I think it's just a matter of timely hitting with timely pitching. Once that gets going, they could be on a roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's good to, and see young guys, because I think that's something that every team always wants to see is a balance of experienced guys, such as like a Reed Johnston, but also too, like
Hmm.
some of the younger guys as well, just to kind of show like, who's next for us, who's going to get those, those big time, appearances that could really help, kind of fill in that depth that you're looking for. Um, and then from the hitting side, is there somebody I know that I've mentioned like Devonte Brown, but maybe somebody that maybe a lot of state fans aren't really talking about that has really stepped up from the hitting
Yeah,
side.
like you said, Devonte Brown's been unbelievable. He's got a 9 game hit streak going. Um,
Sheesh.
and Tyler McDonough's been outstanding.
Mm.
He's reached base, I think 40 something games, 46 games in a row,
Hmm.
going back to 2020 season. And listen, they've been hitting the ball. They've been hitting doubles. They've been hitting home runs. They've had a home run in 22 of the last 29 games. Um, but like I said, I think it's the timely hitting. It's getting that X factor hit when you want to make the lead bigger. Like
Right.
I think the game Friday against Notre Dame, they put up runs in the first 4 innings. They were up 4-0, 4-1 early. As the game goes on, it gets harder to get out of that hole as a losing team. Um, and I think that was the Saturday game they won.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they just need to string together that that pitching and that hitting at the same time and get inning after inning. And I think they could be successful.
Yeah. And because I mean, I know like kind of what you were saying, basically, that just it just hasn't really matched up on a consistent basis where the hitting has has shown up with the pitching as well. But I mean, I mean from what you've seen, I mean, do you think that there's maybe even with your conversation with Avon, do you see one thing in particular that maybe if they focused in this one area that maybe that we could see that more consistency and kind of trying to drive our way back up the AC standings, because the problem right now is, I mean, unfortunately for state baseball, is that we're kind of a little bit on the outside looking in when it comes to the NCAA bubble right now. And I know that it's definitely very important for the sake of the program to get back into the ACC tournament appearance. So, I know that probably Avon and all of us are, kind of like, man, like, we need to get some wins, and I know Notre Dame's a tough team. I mean, top 15 team in the country. I think they were put at number 10. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a tough match. So, I mean, get one, bravo, but it's kind of like, all right, Virginia Tech's coming to town. It's not going to get any easier here. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I mean, just kind of curious. I mean, what do you feel, is kind of that X factor that might could help, move to the
I,
next direction.
I mean, here's the thing. You have 12 ACC games left. You
Hmm.
have Virginia Tech at home, Wake Forest away, which is down the road,
Hmm.
Pitt away, and then you finish up with Florida State, which is not easy.
Right.
Um, but out of those 12 games, I think you got to win at least. You got to win. I think you got to win those series.
Hmm.
Um, if you could get 2 out of 3 out of Virginia Tech, that's great momentum going into Wake Forest, and potentially taking a sweep from Wake Forest.
Yeah.
I know it's a little rival down the road, but they got to win games. They got to win ACC games to at least get a good seed for the ACC tournament, and then make a run in the tournament. If
Mhm.
they do that, if they could just win 2 out of the 3 of those 4, that's 8 out of 12. So now you're
Mhm.
flipping. You're probably second or third in the ACC now, in the Atlantic Division,
Mhm.
and you're looking pretty good for the NCAA tournament. So hopefully this weekend, this momentum. I mean, listen, they played well at Notre Dame. The ball just didn't fall where it needed to fall for them. So I think there's a little momentum going. I think guys are going to get motivated, and it should be an interesting Virginia Tech series at the Doak this weekend.
Mhm. Yeah, because I would definitely say, and I think we talked about this, before the season started, we kind of did like a baseball preview, but I mean, I think that we would argue that the ACC now is maybe more talented than it's ever been, just in terms of, I mean, depth wise. I mean, there's just so many good teams out there, from consistent years. I mean, do you kind of agree as well that maybe from even when you were playing as well, that I mean, like teams like Virginia, like Georgia Tech, like Louisville is a year after year just dominant, team. But I mean, you're seeing even other teams as well, like Notre Dame is not pushing up. I mean, even Boston College, even though we played well against them, I mean they're looking good as well. It's just
Hmm.
it's getting tougher and tougher every single year, I feel like.
Yeah. So going back to when I was there, the ACC was every year. Everyone wants to go for an ACC baseball school.
Hmm.
Um, it's like the SEC for football. Everyone
Yeah.
wants to go play um, down south for the ACC.
Hmm.
But listen, when I was playing, and I was fortunate enough, I pitched against. I believe it was a Saturday night. We got rained out on Friday. I pitched against Virginia. They were number one.
Hmm.
It was Danny Holtzen. He was like the number 2 or 3 pick of the draft.
Wow.
Faced him on Saturday night, and then next weekend we played UNC. They were number 5 in the nation. So the ACC is always stacked. It's just a matter of who. But yeah, there's no easy weekends. There's no easy weekends. There's no like, oh, we're playing this team. We could probably get 3 wins out of them. Every win's tough, and anyone could beat anyone. And you'll see that. You'll see that in a few weeks or a little less than a month at the ACC tournament.
Well, because do you feel at all that with the schedule changes here, where usually with baseball, I mean, you have a good balance of out of conference with in conference, but this year, there's pretty much mostly been in conference. Do you feel that maybe, could have affected maybe, or could have helped the start at least, if we are going to face 3 tough teams, at least to have those extra series ahead of time to really, get that experience? You think that maybe affected, this how we
Yeah,
think about
I,
it?
I think a little bit, especially if you have some younger guys in the lineup or some younger arms.
Hmm.
They get challenged earlier in the season and deal with some, I guess, negativity or some downfalls, but they know how to overcome that towards the middle end of the season.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that may have aided in a little bit of a slow start.
Hmm.
But yeah, those first 12 games out of conference are huge for guys, especially developmentally.
Hmm.
And yeah, I do believe it had a little bit of an effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, too, I mean, kind of, talking about the Notre Dame series, I mean, obviously it was definitely a game. I mean, it was definitely a tale of, I think, of a couple different games. I think the first game was, I mean, with it being what, 5-2, 5-3, very low scoring. Um, I think it was just a matter of just kind of which way the ball rolled
Hmm.
that game. And then second game, I think we definitely just went into that game knowing that we needed to take that game in order to get the rubber match, and we stepped up and took care of business. But then third game just didn't seem like we came 100% ready for whatever reason it is. So just wanted to kind of get your thoughts specifically on this Notre Dame series, kind of maybe what your
Yeah,
overall thoughts were.
I think game one, like you said, it was a one-run game.
Hmm.
I believe that was the one Reed Johnston threw.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say he went 7 or 8 innings of great baseball.
Hmm.
And then the hit by pitch with the bases loaded got that go-ahead run for Notre Dame. Yeah, then Saturday we came swinging out the gates. We won 5-2. And then I think it just came out a little flat on Sunday. I think they scored 3 in the first inning. Then we cruised through, but the Pack offense was kind of quiet. Um, and then they put up a 4 spot in the 7th, which put that nail pretty much in the coffin.
Hmm.
But Yeah, those first two games could have gone in either way.
Mhm.
We could have lost on Saturday, but we scored those runs early, and the bullpen came through.
That's right. And because kind of too, I know that you were telling me that you definitely still stay in touch with Avent, still pretty stay close touch, and I think that that's probably true for most former state players and even current state players. I know that that's one thing that I've heard from Avent is that I mean he does a great job with growing his relationship with the players, former players and current, and so I mean one of the things that I know that I actually tweet about, and I think that a lot of state fans should know if they for some reason they don't know already is that I mean there's probably not a coach at state that loves NC State more than Coach Avent. So I mean I did I just kind of wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that just in terms of how how much maybe Avent connected with you guys and also too with your teammates and former players and also too just kind of his relationship with NC State overall.
Yeah, he is the definition of NC State baseball. There's no doubt about that.
Mhm.
He instills it in you as a player. He instills it in you as a person. And he's always there for you no matter what it is, on the field, off the field. It could be anything. But he has such a passion for the university and for the program, and he takes a lot of pride in it. And if you were to tell me he slept at the Doak 2 to 3 times a week, I would say I would take the over. Um, but yeah, he has a great passion. He eats, sleeps, and breathes NC State. And I know the relationships he's made, not only just former players, but former NC State coaches, former NC State athletes in um, different sports, whether it's football, basketball, wrestling. Um, just going to football games with him in the past and seeing him, and it's like he's the mayor of the town, and he's always saying hi, and he knows everyone.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, he's something special for NC State, and I'm
Mhm.
glad he's still there. And I look forward to going back every year and catching a weekend series and catching up with him.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I actually, believe it or not, actually today during my lunch was actually watching the 2018 NC State ECU football game just because don't know why. I just kind of wanted to watch some former state stuff, maybe watch Kelvin Harmon and Jacoby Myers and Ryan Finley, those guys again. And also probably the Garrett Bradbury touchdown. That's always just brings a smile to my face.
Yeah,
And of course I can't remember. It was after Reggie Gillespie's touchdowns, and he came back to the bench, and you saw Avon right there on the sidelines, right in the middle of all the guys as they were running to the or heading to the bench. He was, patting them on the shoulders, patting them on the helmets or whatever it is.
yep,
And it's just like it's I feel like, I could be wrong. I don't know every coach. I don't know a lot of coaches, but I mean, I just feel like I mean it's like it's a baseball coach that routinely is right in the middle of not only just baseball. He's with women's basketball, with men's basketball, with football, with I mean every sport, you name it. So
yep,
it's great to just like you said, have that guy that year after year is supporting and loving its state and giving state a quality product in a baseball team. So that's why kind of to one of the things I wanted to kind of ask your opinion on because I mean I know that just like you said, I mean you look forward to seeing Avon there, year after year and going back and seeing them. One of the things that I know that we've talked about is obviously from a there every state fan wants Avon to succeed. There's no doubt that one of the things that is kind of the feather in the cap for all state fans, or the thing that just is kind of our kryptonite, is that we are waiting on an ACC title for football, men's basketball, for baseball, which are the main sports, and then women's basketball recently that we kind of put most of our time into. And Avent, he's been here for over 20 years, and he's been 5 times to ACC championship games, hasn't pulled it out. Like you look at like 20, it was the Rodon and Trey's next to last year when we went to the College World Series, and there was the 18 inning, just long game against UNC. And
hmm
and I mean, I look at that going, man, if we could have pulled that out, then we would. I think we played. I think it was Virginia Tech, and UNC took care of business against them and won title.
yeah,
Yeah, man,
yep,
we could have won that. So I mean, a lot of state fans say, well, if we get better facilities, then that could really help increase the recruiting. But I mean, one of the things that a lot of state fans say, and I mean, I would agree as well, is I mean, we are getting talent. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you look every single year, we're getting guys drafted, talked about on the national level. So, kind of want to get your thoughts a little bit in terms of, the people, that are saying, that, you know, they're kind of worried, if Avon can get it done, in terms of winning the title. At the end of the day, it's great getting, top 25, even like number one in the country a couple years ago. But then all state fans, they want an AC title, which
Yeah.
you
Yep.
understand.
Yeah.
So just kind of want to get your thoughts on that. Kind of people who have that concern with Avon.
Yeah. So listen, the goal is AC championship, College World Series, every year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and listen, point blank, it's hard. That AC tournament is hard.
Mm-hmm.
You may you may be saving your guy for game two, but you may be playing a higher seed game one, and they throw their ace, and if he comes out and shoves his stuff, it might be a loss.
Yeah.
Um, listen. He's been around the game long enough. I know he has it in him. I know he deserves it, and I know
Oh
every
yeah.
player that comes to that field ready to go is wants nothing more than a win for him. And he just has that contagious personality where he makes you feel like you're gonna win, you want to win, and you have to win.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so listen, it's hard. The pieces have to fall in the right place. It's a 5 day tournament. You got to have the arms. Everyone's got to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, listen. I see it coming. Um, but yeah, it's just hard, and people have to understand that. It's like look at the ACC tournament in basketball. Like
Yeah.
that's it's usually two teams, but I mean
Mhm.
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, and especially too, with baseball is such a, again, I mean, it's such a unique sport in the fact that, I mean, literally, if your starting pitcher does not come out at least playing solid, that puts you in a real tough spot for the rest of the game. Because I mean, I mean, because again, at the end of the day, the outfield might not even touch the ball. The outfield, I mean, the ball can literally, be hit a home run, and the only person who's touched it from your team is the pitcher.
Yep.
And so I mean, that's why, there's no other sport like that where one guy can literally make or break the game for you on, which is fortunate but unfortunate at the same time.
Hmm.
And so especially just like you said with AC tournament where you play so many games, in one weekend, it's tough. So and uh, so I kind of wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, like, if you look at like the Louisville's or like the Mississippi States, the guys that, I mean, when you think about college baseball and who's going to be at that College World Series, you consistently think about those guys like UCLA or Villanova. I'm sorry, Vanderbilt, not Villanova. So, I mean, would you say that maybe facilities is kind of maybe the one thing that maybe they have over us? That, I mean, if maybe if hopefully in the next couple of years, through Oregon, we can put some money in and upgrade those facilities as they need to be to compete against that national level. If
Yeah.
maybe that's kind of the helping point.
Listen, the Doak is one of the best surfaces I've ever played on. That grass is unbelievable. The mound, the dirt, the ground
Mhm.
screw is unbelievable. The stadium itself is nice, but yeah, could it use a second deck? Sure. Could it use bleachers in the outfield? Maybe. Sure. Or a nice little like a party deck above the batting cages on right field. Sure, it could use that. Um, but yeah, recruits want to see big shiny things. But yeah, I mean, I think it could use an upgrade. It could use a little upgrade to the facility. I mean, the locker room. I know they redid the locker room a few years back, and it looked great. Um, but now we're getting to where technology is taking over. So yeah, I could see they need to upgrade the batting cages and maybe some more player things to maybe attract one or two guys they may go to a different spot to play for college. But um, at the end of the day, it's you got to take the players you have and mold them so that you're streaking at the end of the season, rolling into that tournament.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'd like to see what Book Oregon does, and see if he makes some changes to that facility. Because listen, it's a great facility, but I think there could be some updates and add-ons to maybe get some bigger name recruits in there.
Yeah. Well, because like, one of the things that stood out to me on social media, and I know a lot of people, especially in the sports we're really talking about, was Mississippi State. Like you see on social media, like they'll have, videos, going around the stadium of like from all the way around the stadium, just packed full of fans. And just, I mean, the environment at these games are just insane. And I know
Hmm.
from being at, some of the regional, super regional games that I've been to, I know, and knowing Wolfpack Nation, I mean, I know that, if you give, Wolfpack Nation however many thousands of seats of capacity, especially in those games like that, especially in a beautiful day like we are having right now, baseball wise, they're going to get filled, and it's going to be a heck of an environment. It's going to be, I mean, just up there with the rest of them. So definitely, I would definitely, push to all state fans who are watching. Definitely keep that in mind. In terms of if you aren't already part of the Wolfpack Club, please consider joining. I know obviously it's still in tough times, but every penny can help. And just obviously for in-state athletics, we're not trying to be just a football school. We're not trying to be a basketball school. We're trying to be a athletic school. We're trying to win championships in women's basketball, men's basketball, football, softball, you name it. We're trying to win it all. So definitely keep that in mind, and we definitely appreciate support through that. So one of the things I was definitely looking forward to bringing you in on was the Carlos Rodon no hitter, because I mean I know for state fans that was just, it touched all of us, because I mean I know all state fans know how much that guy's been through in terms of injuries and getting bumped down to minors to do some rehab, coming back, and to now be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, as being one of the few pitchers of all time to ever throw a no hitter and be that close to a perfect game. I mean, just rings for all of us of just another tip in the cap, basically. So I know you kind of definitely stay in touch with Carlos as well, so I'm sure it was big for you as well to kind of see him pull that through.
Yeah, so yeah, Carlos and I go back. It was my fifth year senior year. It was Carlos, Trey, um, and there was one more, the catcher,
Brett Brett Austin.
Brett Austin. The three of them came on the recruiting trip, and we were with them the whole weekend. So right off the bat, we hit it off. Myself, I mentioned him earlier, former player Andrew Simpson. We were kind of like the hosts for the weekend, so we took them to dinner. We took them around campus. Um, so yeah, down to earth guys. And I would say he's the same person he was then as he is now. Um, I linked up with him, I believe, last year, maybe 2 years ago. I went to Yankee Stadium, not far from here, and linked up with him down the left field line. Got caught up for 20 minutes or so, talked Wolfpack sports, how he's doing, how his family's doing, his experience. And then I reached out the other day. I let the dust settle because I know he probably had 1,000 text messages. So I texted him 2 days after, and we went back and forth. And he's looking forward. We're already planning to link up when he comes to New York at the end of May. But it was something special. I actually got to catch the last 3 innings of the game, and to see the guy throwing 95 to 98 miles an hour in the seventh, eighth, and ninth inning was pretty special. And I know Wolfpack fans have seen him pitch at the College World Series stage, but for him to go out there and shut down nine MLB hitters for 9 innings was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know for me, when I think about Carlos, obviously there's so many big moments, that he's been part of. But the one thing that really just stood out to me was, I know a lot of state fans, look at again, the year where they made it to the College World Series, where they lost to UNC in the AC tournament, where that guy pitched 10 innings and pretty much only had one play that was kind of just a fluke, that he ran to first base to get the guy out, and just the second baseman just threw it a little bit higher than he expected, and he got over him, and somebody came in, and UNC tied the game. But I mean, that guy just was dominant that day, and it was so definitely don't think if he was in that position we would have even made it that far. So yeah, but I mean, to see, basically just like you said, as he played, it seemed like he was throwing harder as he was going. I mean,
Yep.
that just is the craziest thing. I know, like in the eighth inning, he was throwing like 99 miles an hour. Like it just is crazy. I mean, obviously his throwing his dangerous slider that all state fans know
Hmm.
all too well. So yeah, and so I mean, the one thing which I did want to kind of ask, from you, that has played a little bit of minor league baseball, but also to play a state as well. So I know for me, I kind of look at the hit by pitch that ruined his perfect game that he had to the ninth inning. And I'd say to myself, you know, you look at, obviously state, I mean, baseball players, I feel like for the most part have mad respect for one another, in terms of, what they've been through to get to that point, also to, how they're doing and all that. So, you look at basically, how the batter got hit, but basically it was, I think it was a slider coming
Shoestring
through, and
slider.
yeah,
Yep.
shoestring shot, and it just came back and hit him on the back foot. And literally, you just think to yourself, if that batter just would have moved his foot back maybe 3 inches,
Yep.
he probably would have had a perfect game.
That's
And
baseball.
so,
Game of inches.
right. So I mean, if you were in that position and you were playing against somebody, I mean, so do you? Because I say to myself, okay, I probably wouldn't want to be. I don't want to be the team that is known for getting a perfect game thrown against them. But I'm also thinking as well, of like, man, like you know, good for him. If he gets a perfect game, good for him, kind of deal. So I guess kind of wanted to ask you, kind of, if you were in that position, if you were that batter, would you have moved your foot, to let it go by, or would you have, leaned in to get that hit by pitch and get to first base?
Oh yeah, I'm getting first base. I'm trying to lean in, ruin that thing. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah,
As a pitcher, I'm yelling, get out of the way.
yeah, because man, yeah, like, because even like as he was walking, like you saw Carlos go, really, to him, like, come on,
Yeah,
man, like, move your foot, just
yeah,
like let's get it done where it matters, between strikes and balls here, not by hit by pitches. So
yeah. And even the play before that, the play at first base,
yeah,
that was a matter of inches.
that was
It was
huge.
unbelievable.
I,
That guy literally, everything he had. Could have it looked like he could have torqued his knee on that too. But
yeah,
that's what you do for a guy that's pitching like that.
hmm, yeah, absolutely. So definitely, I'm curious as well, when you and Carlos are talking about, you said that you kind of talked about, NC State sports, or whatever. Do you guys mostly talk about baseball? Or do you guys kind of talk other sports as well? Does he follow, other state sports as well? Or is he mostly,
Yeah, he keeps up with everything. Keeps up with football. Keeps up with the basketball.
oh, cool.
Obviously, he keeps up with baseball. Always going to GoPack.com, checking out the box scores
Mm-hmm.
when he can, and
Mm-hmm.
on the social media, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's. But we've talked about hunting a little bit because I'm not a hunter and he's a big hunter.
Yep.
Um, so just curious to pick his brain about that maybe a little more in the future.
Yeah, because I know, to remind me, because so how many, so for state fans or viewers who are watching who don't know, so how many, so like where does that Carlos no hitter stand in terms of Major League Baseball history, or maybe even White Sox history, for
Yeah,
those
so
state fans who don't know?
that was the 20th no hitter in White Sox history,
Okay.
and it was the 307th no hitter in MLB history. Um, but just he retired 25 straight hitters. Everything was pinpoint accurate. I looked up a few stats. His average fastball was 95 miles an hour. He topped out at 98.8 miles an hour in the ninth inning. That's since 2008, only two left-handed starters have thrown 98.8 miles per hour or faster in the ninth inning, which was CC Sabathia in 2011 and James Paxton in 2018 on his no-hitter. Other than that, no one else, no starter has went into the ninth inning and thrown any ball over 98 miles an hour.
Uh,
But 114 pitches, 75 strikes. That was one of his best games of his career. I mean, obviously no hitter,
yeah.
um, but listen, everyone forgets his first start of the year, 5 innings, 2 hits, I think 9 Ks. So right now in the season, he's 2-0 with no earned runs and 16 strikeouts, two
Yeah.
hits, 2 hits.
Wow. I mean,
Um, so he's I know you mentioned his surgeries and everything. He had Tommy John. He's
mhm.
the first pitcher to throw a no hitter within 2 years of Tommy John,
See, I mean,
which is impressive.
even me as a state fan who I mean isn't even like a huge baseball person, I'm even going, oh my gosh, that's insane. That's
Yeah,
so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, because I know for Carlos as well, that I mean he's somebody that, because I know, like, for Trey Turner, who we'll talk about a little bit here in a second. He's been kind of jumping around from a couple teams, but Carlos got drafted by the White Sox, and he's been with them the whole time. And I think that, and from my perspective, it seems like that the White Sox really do want him to, get rolling, get out of this injury bubble, sign him, and him be a long term White Sox player. I mean, do you kind of foresee that as well? That maybe after the season, that kind of talk about keeping him here for the long term, or do you still,
Yeah, yeah. I think he's a long term guy. Listen, he's a bulldog. He throws
hmm
9 innings. He throws 10 innings. Like
yeah,
he'll do whatever you want. So he's definitely he's a franchise player, franchise pitcher. I
hmm
don't see why the White Sox should let him go. I think he signed a 1 year deal in the preseason, so it's a contract year for him.
yeah.
So I mean, he's off to a great start. So I think if he keeps it rolling, he'll have a nice contract at the end of this year.
I agree. I agree. So kind of jumping in real quick here on Trey Turner, who again has just been super impressive as he's been for the last couple of years. I mean, just being up there is one of the best, maybe even top three best shortstops in baseball right now. I mean, just again, I think this past weekend hitting 2 home runs in one game. I mean, just has been phenomenal so far again this season.
Yeah, just watching him is exciting. He gets on base, he's just stealing second. You see him at shortstop, he's going to gobble any ball up the middle.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, he's off to a good start. He's hitting over 300, 4 home runs. They're 52 at bats. That's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a great job. He looks like the same old Trey.
Yep.
Um, just he's phenomenal. He's definitely an impact player as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's somebody that I know all state fans love for the fact of, when they won the World Series that year, that there was 2 different times. I think when they uh, won the conference title and then won the World Series, that he was wearing, like, one time wearing like an NC State football helmet and all
Yep.
that. And just, it's just so cool to see, guys at that level, sporting state and, obviously supporting state as much as they do. So that's really the thing that stood out to me is like, man, like, it's so cool, like seeing guys that successful, you know, sporting NC State to, the national media. So, kind of getting our name out there. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
definitely. I think in Carlos and Trey, their experience at NC State, they're definitely rooted, and they're definitely big followers and supporters, and
mhm.
really know where they came from, the Wolfpack family and everything.
Absolutely. So, and I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of other, state, pros, here that, like Andrew Kisner, Will Wilson, Patrick Bailey, that are, still kind of figuring their way up. Is there one in particular that you think, here soon will be, talked about a lot in the national media for baseball, for Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I know Wilson's up and coming. He
Hmm.
reminds me a little bit of Trey, but I think closest might be Kisner. He's backing up Yadi Molina over with the Cardinals.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, Yadi's old, so if one little injury, maybe he
Hmm.
could crack into the lineup daily.
Yep.
So we'll see. I know he only has a couple at bats this year,
Yep.
but I mean, Yadi's back there. He's like a brick wall.
Yep.
So I guess we'll have to monitor that this year and see if Kisner maybe he gets a couple game stretch where he gives Yachty a break, and
Mhm.
maybe when they do, I'm not sure if with COVID, I'm not sure the schedule if they're doing interleague play or not, and
Yep.
Yachty will DH and Kisner could catch. So that'd be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, guys. So thank you so much again, Wolfpack Nation, for tuning again. So please make sure, if you haven't already, again, please make sure to subscribe to us by hitting the button in the bottom right hand corner. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Tuffy Talk Now, and please like this video if you enjoyed it to get other Tuffy Talk content. And please make sure I was ready to check out our other content as well that we have on our YouTube channel, on our podcast. And again, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please stay safe, and as always, go Pack, y'all.